Welcome back to the Emotional Fitness Gym podcast, episode 10. This is a space for real conversation about the inner world and how it shapes the way we live, lead, love, and relate. Because most of us are not taught how to succeed on the outside, but not know how to navigate what's happening on the inside. Emotional fitness is the ability to notice what's happening within you, regulate under pressure, and respond in a way that aligns with who you want to be, not just how you're conditioned to react.
And in this episode, we're joined by someone who's doing meaningful work in this space. Together, this isn't about a perfect interview or polished answers. It's grounded, open communication where we explore lived experience, real insights, and what actually helps people grow from the inside out. We'll slow things down, so stay curious and keep the focus on what's useful, not just what sounds good. And as always, we'll leave you with a simple gym rep, something practical you can take into your own life this week.
That's my favorite part. And if this conversation resonates, follow the show and share it with someone who would benefit from hearing this guest message. That's how this work reaches the people that it's meant for.
So let's take a breath and land. There's no rush. We're here for a real conversation, not a performance. And our lovely guest, Louise Cramond, is with us today. And just know you can say pass or let's keep it high level at any point. This is a space to bring your journey and work into purpose and presence.
So, without further ado, let's introduce Louise. So, today we're joined by Louise. She's a coach, a holistic counselor, emotional fitness formula practitioner, and an e-disc profiler, extended disc profiler, who supports women, including women in business, to go through change, uncertainty, and the seasons of life that feel heavy, less clear, or harder to manage than they once did. Louise's work is grounded in the understanding that many capable women are navigating complex emotional, family life, and leadership demands without the tools of awareness they were never taught. Rather than focusing on fixing, Louise helps women understand what is happening beneath what they are experiencing so they can respond to life with greater steadiness, clarity, and self-trust. Her approach is shaped by decades of therapeutic, holistic, and mind, body, spirit practices, as well as her own lived journey through relocation, relationships, breakdowns, death, loss, grief, and rebuilding a life while raising 3 young children. These experiences gave Louise a profound understanding of how people grieve and heal, how they adapt and move through change in real life. Her path led her deeper into, I can't get this right, but attitudinal healing. Go Brent, based on A Course in Miracles, holistic counseling, coaching, personal and spiritual development, and her return to love gatherings. They were, I heard, so amazing, where she supported people to find deeper peace and connection within themselves. More recently, Louise has continued to strengthen her work through emotional fitness formula and extended disc, bringing practical structure and deeper transformational frameworks into her work. Through the Sage Blooms and the Inner Compass Insight process, Louise now brings together lived experience, decades of client work, emotional awareness, behavior insights, and practical coaching frameworks to help women navigate change, uncertainty, and growth without sacrificing their well-being. So important. At the heart of Louise's work is one simple belief. Women don't need fixing. They need what they were never taught. So today, we're going to explore change, grief, identity, emotional awareness, self-leadership, and what becomes possible when women are supported to understand themselves more deeply. So, Louise, thank you for being here and welcome to the Emotional Fitness Gym
Oh,
podcast.
my pleasure. Thank you for that lovely opening. Thank you, Brent, and thank you, Valerie, for having me.
You're very welcome, and thank you so much for being here. So, where was I? I've lost myself again, as I do, but I'll fix that. So, what I'd like to do is, so the guests, I guess, let's start with the people you serve, as we've sort of gone over about. So the audience immediately knows like why this matters, and then we can sort of move on to your origin story.
Perfect. Look, as Brent had said in my bio, I've been doing this work for a long time, and it's not the same work. The work has been evolving as I've evolved. So that's been the journey. So for me, it hasn't been just going out and doing a course and then deciding what I'm going to do. I suppose I don't like to use the word career. My vocation has been birthed also through me. And that's been the interesting journey. So it's always had lots of ups and downs because I've had to go down to come back up. And as a woman, when I was navigating this in the early days, when I did have 3 small children and I was on my own, there was no external references to getting help other than going to a psychologist or going to the local counsellor. We didn't even really have the internet then. I didn't even have a mobile phone. So it's like times have certainly changed. So for me, this became so important to be a support person because I know that I would have loved to have someone to have walked along with me.
Mm.
And I found my own way just through sheer determination because I had 3 small children depending on me. It wasn't just about me. It was about how do I get these children from where we are now to have a bright, beautiful future. So my why is because I think we all need that support. We all need to be able to say, do you know what I'm going through? Can you hear me? Can you pause enough so I can actually speak and articulate what I'm trying to say? Because often for women, we don't feel heard. We don't feel understood. And I certainly went through that multiple times. And it was only just through my own determination that and being a parent that I knew I had to keep moving forward and then now bring this work to be of service to others for this because I think that's what I'm here to do, really.
Yeah, such a
Yeah.
fascinating story. And, you've lived it. You've
Mhm.
gone through it. You've understood that there was no support for you when you were going through it, and you want to be the support for others as they're going through it. So, in that note, what do you help people, I guess, move from to where they're going? So, where are they to where they want to go? What does that journey look like?
Well, it can be different because I do work with women, and as I've inverted commas, I also work with women in business. So I haven't come from corporate, even though I grew up in a family business, and I've worked around people in business my whole life. But I wouldn't say I'm corporate. But for me, we're all the same. So I dropped that label. A woman's a woman, a man's a man. So we all have the same feelings. We all have these same, issues that are rotating through all of us. There's this universal consciousness. We're all grabbing on the same, the same thoughts and the same beliefs. They're just being recycled. But, so for me, it is women and women in business. But we're all going through the journey of leadership, whether it's leadership in a business or leadership of self. So when women come to me, they may be just a lovely mother at home. They may be looking after their family. They may be, they have a small business, or they could be doing multiple things. But we all feel those times where we're confused, we're feeling overwhelmed. I could say burnt out, but mostly we don't know we're burnt out until we're actually going through that process. There's a lot of symptoms that come before the actual burnout. There's memory fog. A lot of the women that I tend to work with are going through either perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause. So I do talk a lot about that with women, and we identify that in in our pre-questionnaire before I actually take people on a coaching journey, because there's a lot of biological things that might be happening as well. But generally, there's a feeling of overwhelm. I'm not myself is a huge thing that comes up for women. I actually don't know what's wrong. I just know I don't feel like myself. And then when we dive and we dig, we can understand, well, this is happening. Are you aware of this happening? And a lot of the time they're not aware of that. So I generally get them in at this early stage. And then I open them up on this journey that I don't think that they know that they're going to go there. but they do.
I love that. It reminds me of the problem is never the problem.
Yes.
And for a lot of leaders in my experience, especially in the psychological safety that's all rolling out at the moment, we've already got to look at ourselves because it really starts there. I mean, and you touched on something quite interesting, especially in what we talked about before, is in what we could talk about. And it was like the difference between masculine and feminine, and how they those energies, we'll say energies, not just as in persons. We could look at it as it'd be easier how we could take it on differently. Like a male might be more logical and a female are more emotional. And then there's a whole side of like what the women go through with premenopausal, and it's just a completely different. I mean, man, we understand, but there's no concept.
No, there is no concept. I'm going to do a group for men because it's interesting because you don't understand that, and you're not really meant to. You haven't been educated. We haven't been educated. We're only getting educated now, really, in my generation, and I'm in my 60s. So pre that, my women weren't educated on it. You were either hot flush, you give you that and then off you go on your way. Well, you know so much more about that for women. And when we label women and we say, well, this is what you should be thinking, this is what you should be feeling, this is what you should be processing. When someone's going through menopause, throw that all out. I mean, that goes out in the garbage bin. And interesting enough, I heard someone it must have been a reel or something, and it was a gentleman, and he was talking to men in his group saying, giving them a little bit of, it'll be okay, she will get back to normal. And when I heard that, I thought, yeah, actually, you're wrong. I nearly was going to make a comment. I said, no, I'm not going to make a comment because she's gone. She's not going to come back. But the great thing is she's being reinvented, and that gives me goosebumps even to say it, because when I can get into a space with women or a woman one-on-one, when we start talking about this, it's not a decline, it's a transformation. And I didn't even know that I was going through all the things that I was going through, let alone thinking, oh, okay, my brain's actually going to change here. My body's going to change. My identity is going to change. My identity is going to go that way. My values are going to go that way. And everything's going to be mixed up in all of it. And you're going to go, okay, where do I navigate? And that's where I feel that is my expertise, is to actually, I've lived the experience and I know that we can work our way through that and get you to the other side of that.
I love that, Louise. And it's
called
important.
The second bloom. It's called the second bloom. We have a second bloom.
Yeah.
We have a second bloom.
Yeah.
I'm so glad about that.
Yes.
I can so relate to your story and everything you just said about helping women at this stage, because like you said earlier, we get into overwhelm. We don't understand what's going on. Brain fog galore. I was there, and I wish I knew you were doing what you were doing back in 2016, to be honest, because my work suffered. I actually experienced bullying by people who didn't understand what was going on with me. I was asking for time off. It wouldn't happen, so I didn't know what was going on even. So through that, and like you said, we end up in burnout without realizing, and that is crucial, understanding that.
I do think in time, and I hear what you're saying, Valerie, and I can really sympathize with you. And I do think in time that maybe business business environments will actually have to start looking a little bit more at this, and not just she's got brain fog, or she's not performing, or she's blah, 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 have whatever the narrative's going to be. There actually is there's so much scientific proof around all of this now that they're actually going to have to equate this like mental health days off. So I think there's going to be a whole opening for women, which is great. We can lead the way, and then the generations to come. So I've got 3 daughters and a son. They're going to blossom through all of this because they're going to stand on our shoulders, which is beautiful. Isn't that a great thing to be able to do?
100%, especially when you can see that and know that your children aren't going to go through the same trials or tribulations that you did. Isn't it? It's the whole purpose of parenting.
Yes, awareness.
Yeah. And no awareness as a man, but I have awareness watching my poor mother going through it. And for the last 15 years, 20 years, she catches on fire, literally. She's hot and cold. And I can see it must be so frustrating. And so for a man, we don't really have anything that happens to our body that we can't control. Maybe the erectile dysfunction eventually at some point is a mental issue, I guess. But it's not. So it's really interesting. And I do believe it's going to happen, the change, because of all the psychosocial. And it's all there to say, well, I don't feel safe about that. So if you need time off, or you want to swap some time with, hey, can I do this at night? Because absolutely, there should be of course, because we're humans, and more humanity is coming into corporations. So
can I just add something onto that,
Sure.
if you don't mind? I just want to say the gift for men in this stage is to grow with the woman. That's your gift, and that's your challenge. Instead of saying, I'm just going to wait for her to come back, she's gone, as I said. The thing is for you to rise with her. How are you going to rise with this challenge? How are you going to rise in love? And I'm not talking just about your love with your partner or whoever, but in love. How are we all going to rise together? Because it's not just us going through it. It's our families. It's everyone. It's the people we work with. So this is a challenge for everyone. Is everyone going to rise with this? Or are we going to just push her out the side for a little while she just gets through her little phase over here? Mind you, it can go for 20 years, not a little phase, and then bring her back in. No, the opportunity is for all of us. How can we rise to meet this and be better humans, more compassionate, more forgiving? How can we meet and love deeper as we all rise together? That is going to be the challenge for everyone, I think.
Yes, definitely. And I really like the way you just said that about rising together, and workplaces having the awareness about what happens, as well as partners, the people around you, and being more compassionate and kind and caring, because it's not, I post, like I started my journey 10 years ago, 11 years ago. So I've been there too. And like you said, it can last 20 years, and it fluctuates on top of other things that you could have.
All the other compounding things come on top of that.
Yeah. And through the chronic stress, through my workplace, that I allowed to occur, and I didn't realize it was all my own past stuff, and I've worked through that, and I've had Brent help me through all of that, thank goodness, because Brent's a great coach. And
I've no doubt, both of you. Yes.
I've seen, I guess we've both seen each other through that journey, and I think without the support of a coach, personally, I believe, I don't know where I'd be today,
I agree.
Thanks, Val. I'll tell you what, you did it all yourself. I just showed you what you didn't want to agree to. That coaching, because the problem's not the problem, and the problem normally starts within self. But thank you for that. But I'd like to say something about that, because we do bring in this relationship that we've got. It's gone from I was helping to then Val opened doors for me to be able to go, hey, I could do this. Then I went, hey, creation created this, that created opportunity for people to be able to share, that creates all this other stuff. And we're talking about creation, right? We're talking about growth. But what I would like to talk about is what you just said, Louise, is grow together. Because I was helping Valerie, but then she made me see a door. So we all have something to learn and teach. And let's get back into corporate, right? We all have something to give. And before we ask to receive in profits, shareholders, we should ask, what can we give to make that a comfortable experience for you to do that for us? So I really think that it's time for a change. And especially in the time of the world, of everyone seems to be these opposite points of the world. Everyone's having this. But if we just go back to basics in reality of biology and time, I'd like to get into that, like life cycles and EFF. Because like women, right, men and women are the opposites. We're yin yang. We should listen. Now,
and we're developing different times. You know, our athlete, our warrior state, but we're all and women are already coming from that. So for me, I was already coming from that softness. I was already coming from the mother, and I'm on IS, if you're wondering, in my e-disc. So women tend to come more from that, and they're more in tune with that earlier. And then as you go through menopause, we seem to lose some of those values, not lose them or, as I say, throw them out and away. We just now define ourselves a little bit differently. Whereas men are going out, being the athlete, they're being the warrior, they're out there hunting. My story was very opposite to that. I was very much the woman doing it very differently. Family, spirituality came very early for me, and then blossoming through. So
that's awesome. I love how you just went there. That's what I was trying to go. Because in, say, the EFM framework, it also comes from Jung, how men and women go through times differently. So men are all about, what about me? Because we call us selfish. We have to be selfish. We're growing, we're creating, we're surviving, we're creating this thing, and we get older. And this is why it's hard for men to go, well, my dad didn't say he loved me, but he's saying it to my son, because we move from what about us to others, where women move about from others to about us. And maybe that's it, that point in time when you're changing and it's about me and it's about, well, who am I now? My identity's changing, how I show up in the world. It's absolutely fascinating how I just saw all that.
Yeah, it is, because men are coming more into their legacy, as you know, when we get into state person and into to that realm. So it's more about, if you've gone through building your career, and I'm just doing the generic, I'm not saying everyone follows this part, but generally then when we get into our legacy, the men are slowing down and they're giving, and and it's a beautiful reciprocal thing. Whereas women have kind of done a lot of that. And I have spoken to a lot of menopausal women who are like, you know what, I'm actually don't even want to be in that space at the moment. My values are changing. And this is where some of the partners and husbands are thinking, wow, she's really changing. She was all about doing it for others. Well, now we want to do some for ourselves. But in that, the growth for us is doing that for ourselves, but making sure that we include those on our journey. And I remember one very wise woman, I don't know if you've heard of Gangaji. Gangaji is a follower of Ramana Maharishi, and I've followed her for 30 years, and I've done some silent retreats with her. And I asked her about that when 30 years ago maybe, and I was sitting in satsang with her with a group of people, and I was really scared about losing my family. This is before my marriage started to break up, and I could feel something was changing. And she said to me, always make sure you put your hand out. And if someone wants to take your hand, they will take it. And those that don't want to take your hand won't take it. And I really have remembered that. And I really honored that, to make sure that if we want to do this journey, be careful how far, you want those that you want to have close in your life, that you still extend your hand out. And they'll take it if they want to, or they may not take it. They may not like the new version of you, but always extend that hand out in love and see what that opportunity can be for growth. Yeah.
Yeah, that's profound. And what a beautiful journey that you were taught at such a young age as well, understanding that and having love for everybody, like you said, and not everyone's going to come on the journey with us.
No.
As well.
And that's going to be part of the trial and tribulation for you. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, because you want to hang on. You want to, oh my goodness, this is a change we're talking about with women. They are going through change. There may be times where my marriage is really rocky here, and I have this fear of, like, if I really be who I want to be or grow to who I want to be, I'm going to lose everything. People are going to leave me. Well, I can't say whether that's going to be true or not, but the thing is we've got to keep our hearts open. And the more we can keep our heart open, not go to our ego mind, but keep in our heart, use our throat for communication. This is the bridge. We've got more hope and opportunity to really build strong relationships instead of just discarding them because that old version doesn't suit me anymore. And I learned that when my marriage broke down in the beginning. It was like, wow, if I knew now what I had known, life would be so different. But I've been with my partner now, my other partner, for 25 years now. We have another child. So it's the journey goes on, and it will look different for everyone. So you got to take the step. You got to take the step towards your heart.
Yeah.
And this is the uncertainty we talk about in emotional fitness. It's, there's this uncertainty. How is this going to look? How is this going to play out? You don't know that, but you just got to be able to take a step.
You don't. I've been working with one of my mates, Daniel, and we have this little thing we're doing where we kick each other's butt with our tukun from, the cabal. And it's getting pretty hectic and we're growing really quickly. And what I'm trying to say is that it is always about that space with self. Like I broke down in my relationship. Look, it's a two-way street. And I mean, you don't see a Spanish dancer in a lovely frilly dress spinning herself. A man looks like he's doing nothing, but the man is being strong and steady, and he is pushing, or say rock and roll dancing, and the woman will just know where the hand is. So it's not like you're dancing; you just are running a pattern, and it looks really cool, like we look at other people on the outside. And what I'm trying to say is that when you say your partner's changing, and maybe they change, and then that's new values, and you're moving apart, it's not the end of the world. No. I mean, it happened to me, and I went through a huge identity a crisis because I didn't know who I was. I was living to everybody else. Yes. And so I connect that to what you're just saying. So if I mean, and it's a two-way street. And then I've got a lovely partner with a beautiful little daughter. That little girl saved me. She brought my other daughter back to me. And then she says, well, I was praying God to have another daughter. Well, thank you. Here she is.
Oh, that's so nice.
But the end is only the beginning, but it's only ever to self. So all I hear is that is like, what is your tukun? What is it that you need to do right now to move to the next space? And the people you love, what is theirs? And where's the space that you can give them to go, well, fuck, I did that. So you can have all the space you want as long as you're walking. I love you.
Yeah.
I think that's this little space we all need to get back to. Now moving from, because we could just do that. I would love to, because you've sort of done it, but talk about a bit of the origin story.
Yes.
Whatever you want to do, because I thought where you came from. There's so many things about your writings and connections about why it is the way it is, so that we can sort of.
You want to pick a spot? It's a big. You tell me where you.
Yeah. Well, what happened, and that you believe is the things that you look back in hindsight, because it's always what is the way, right?
Yes.
So in hindsight, you look back and go, oh my God, the stones that were heavy in my pocket that I laid down made the path, but they were just heavy stones in my pocket. So what was that for you?
Wow, it's a big question. Oh, look, I had lots of heavy stones, and trying to give this context, into what we've actually been speaking about.
Yes.
Look, the heavy stones were obviously when my marriage broke up, and then the trying in and out of, going backwards and forwards and navigating all of that. And then my husband passing, which, and we were going to be heading back he had moved to Sydney. We were in the country at that stage, and, had decided that we were going to move back to Sydney, and passed away 4 weeks later. So that was a real, you know what? I didn't see this coming. I did not see this as part of my life for either of us or for my children. It was at that stage, or just before that stage, that I started an interesting story. I started reading A Course in Miracles. Now, I'm not sure how many people know actually what that is. It's a book actually that was written and it was channeled, back in 1964, and and the person that's channeling is actually Jesus. So you're actually having a course with Jesus. Now, I've been doing this for probably 35 years now, and the way that actually came into my life was through my uncle. And my uncle was a student of Course in Miracles. He'd gone overseas and studied and done a lot with that. And when he passed away, I was given all his books, and I actually just want to put in a little bit before that. Before he actually passed away, I was looking after someone's business. I started off as a spa therapist, beauty therapist when I was 17. I had my first business at 17. And when we moved to Tamworth, which is country New South Wales, with our 3 kids, I was looking after someone's salon for a week, this lady, and in the back of her salon was a book called Return to Love for Marianne Williamson. So I think I can see some eyes shining here, so we know. And my uncle had given me that book like 6 years before that, and I was like, yeah, I'll get to that, and I put it away. And because the lady of the salon was away, I only had a few of her clients just rebooked when she came back. And I thought, I'll sit down and I'll read it. I read that whole book in 2 days. And when I finished reading that book, an hour later, a lady walked in and said, I've just got to pick up my book. And then she took it. So it was like, it was just laying there for me. And I get goosebumps still talking about it. My whole head lifted. I knew something had changed in my brain in 2 days. And I rang my uncle and I said, I know what you're talking about. I know your journey, because he had been doing Course in Miracles for probably 10, 15 years and had became the black sheep in the family because no one understood what it was about. And they are psychological and spiritual principles all through that. And then my journey started there. And then I did my Reiki masters, and my Reiki teacher actually one day came to me with this big folder and she said, this is for you. And I said, oh, what's this? And she said, you're going to be teaching this. And I said, what am I teaching? She said, you're going to be teaching attitudinal healing. I said, what's that? And she said, it's based on A Course in Miracles and you're going to be teaching. We have 15 people already booked into the class and I'm leaving now and I'm going away with my husband. And she left. I've never seen her again, ever again. And then I took on that. I went over to America and I did my facilitator training with that. But that allowed me to let the heavy stones be placed on the ground. That allowed me to have such an expanded awareness that it was like, oh my God, I have been living my life from fear, sin, guilt to now my heart just exploded. The unfortunate thing about that was that it only happened to me. So my whole family, like they did to my uncle, like, what are you doing? Are you in a cult? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And it went on for a very long time. But I stuck with that. And then I realized when my marriage broke up after that, we started speaking about this, saying, wow, we did not have any of these attitudinal tools, because it talks about who we are. The problem's not the problem. It talks about death. It talks about giving and receiving are the same, all these beautiful principles. And I never had seen it with those eyes. My eyes changed, my perception and my vision changed. And that really opened a door that I could never go back through out. I never wanted to, but I tell you, it was so uncertain. So coming full circle and then coming and doing emotional fitness formula and doing eDisc, I realized a lot of the things that we learned that we've done in this framework, that was an opening for me way back then. That was setting me up. That had already shifted my brain. My perception had already changed. My values had changed. So as I said, you said, Brent, it allowed me to put the stones down and heal myself, heal my children, do the journey. And then I did it with love. I didn't do it with, oh my God, I'm on my own. I'm broke. We had to sell our farm. I'll never find another man because who would want me with 3 children, all this kind of dialogue that you go through. And my life was never like that. It opened up with love, and I feel very blessed for that. And that's what I want to instill for women, is that you have a choice. You can go down fear or you can go down the path of love. It's all a choice. And that's, another element that we work on as well.
That's a beautiful story. Thanks for sharing that, Louise. And I've got the book, The Course in Miracles, 700 or 800 pages long.
Yes, yeah.
I've never read it all. I think my bandwidth can handle 2 pages at a time because it's so well written.
Yes,
Yes. But yeah. So I've not yet finished it. However,
blow your mind.
reading it daily.
Yes.
Reading it daily, it does really change, and the lessons that go with it.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, now I know, Valerie, is another something I can say. How's your reading going?
Yeah.
Don't tell people trying to help you what you're trying to work on, or they'll help you. I would like to sort of, because it's all about women, but I wanted to just bring a little bit of a man aspect in here, because this is, I believe, so important. I'm like mirroring you, and it is in the experience.
Yes.
Right. So then let's just put this on the table, that we are all as one. We are not separate, and we're all experiencing the same fears and connections and etc.
Yes.
So, I mean, like, I was a black sheep in the family because I started off being neurodivergent, and back then they didn't know what it was. It was like herpes. But then I started doing on this journey. I mean, I remember the first human behavior stuff was when I was like 19, called The Winning Edge and Landmark and all this. My whole life I've been doing it. But the more aware of self, that was the biggest thing. When I've had major shifts as soon as I owned it. Everything was external up into them. But I went through that same sort of thing where you're misunderstood and you aren't, and what are you doing? Because they're sort of stuck in their projection. So it's, but going back to what it is in the men and the female and connecting, I think this is, because I'm like going, like, that's like me.
Yeah.
And so to the men out there that are women are going through stuff or disconnection, and the women out there that are going through, you know what? Why don't you talk to each other like you talk to your mates and your girlfriends? You'd probably go like,
that's
oh, really?
That's novel. Let's talk. Yeah. Yeah, because no one realizes what someone may be going through. Yeah, look, we can see the similarities of our journey. We're not all dissimilar. We're all still looking for the same things. We're looking for love. We're looking for connection. We're looking for union. However we do that is as diverse as a fingerprint, like it's, we all have our own flavor of that, but we're still looking for that love and that connection. And, you don't have to look too far out in the world and see that hasn't gone particularly well, has it?
Well, we're working on it, aren't we?
We're working on it. Yeah, we are.
And in that, as we all know, all of us are extended DISC practitioners, and we also are part of the emotional fitness formula. So what part of the emotional fitness formula did you really resonate with most or have to work on to get to where you are now?
Without a doubt, identity. For me, identity, because that's what changed. That's what, when I first read the course, I physically could feel my head lift. I really felt like my brain did a flip, and I was different, and my identity was different. That was scary. I didn't know that was actually happening. I didn't know I was having an identity crisis. And then going through motherhood and then, and death and all those things and grief and whatever was, what is my identity? How has my identity changed? But I think I thought I was lucky enough that I was doing the non-dual pathway, which is with Gangaji, and it's the teaching of Ramana Maharishi, and also Course in Miracles. So they're kind of working side to side, which is teachings all about identity. Is it like, who are you? What are you? It was constantly asking, who and what are you? So beyond this body, beyond this house, beyond this space, who are you? Constantly being asked that and going deeper and deeper into that. And that's where meditation really comes into, without journaling and meditation, I couldn't have done this actually. My meditation practice began before my husband passed, but when he passed, it absolutely skyrocketed. And my kids and I joke about it now because I've got some of my daughters are young mums, and they go, "How did you manage us three on your own?" And I said, well, and I used to meditate like twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. I'd put a little sign on the door and had told them how much I love them, and I had got them snacks, and we put a little video on. You had videos back then. There was no DVDs or anything, Mickey Mouse or something. And I said, I'll be 20 minutes. That's all. I'll be, if nothing happens, that's fantastic. But if the house burns down, just knock on the door. Like if it's a fire, whatever. But apart from that, you guys are good. You're really good. And at first they would stick little paintings and drawings under the door, and I could feel them leaning up on the door. I could feel their body and their breathing. Like they couldn't separate from me. And it was like I used to have my eyes closed and I'd be watching this note or this picture coming under the door. And I'd say, give me 20 minutes, give me 20 minutes. That was my sanity, and that brought me to self. And with my journaling, which will lead to my spiritual writing, journaling became my therapist. I didn't have the money to really go to a therapist, but I'd go to a therapist and they maybe asked me, did go to a grief therapist for a little while, and she just asked me all these questions, and I think I knew more than her about awareness. So it just didn't feel right for me. So my journaling, which is with all my clients, this is a process we will all do. We all learn how to listen to our intuition. We will be journaling, we'll be meditating, but not meditation to be distracted out here. It's all about coming back to self, all coming back into stillness, into peace, where there's no noise. So that's something that we also do in that. But that did lead to my spiritual writing, and that actually saved my soul, really.
Like, wow, that's a big message right there. I just wanted to land for everyone. What we sort of just said, everything is suppressing and heavy if we're looking outside. And what I love about, like, in that space, and we bring back the word, that identity was so important, but your space was coming back to self to give you a clear perspective, right? And I know what it's like. The kids are like the mother connection. The sometimes the cord is never cut, but that's really beautiful. Meditation and journaling is so important because it really shows us the thing that we need to do, the tikkun, the next step forward, to keep always stepping. So thank you for sharing that. And then, so you're an IS, so in eDisc, so that's influencer and steadiness.
Yes.
So, which is a high level of the population. A lot of people are ISs. So this would be really helpful for the audience. What do you believe the energies that you relied on most, and your captain energy, your core energy that you relied on to help you with all that amazing stuff that is that path, so people can know that, because we've all got that, and then they've got a little tool.
Yeah. Look, I think in the early days when I was on my own, I think definitely the S energy. That was my mother archetype, was my feminine archetype. It was a little bit more passive. It was coming to the cave. I took my children and myself to a metaphor cave for 3 years, where we really just we moved to an area where it wasn't in town. It was surrounded by nature, and for 3 years we really just kept quite gentle, I think maybe is the word. I didn't go out. I just devoted my whole time to my children and myself and my writing. And I wrote, I couldn't even tell you many things exercise books I've written through, and helped them as much as I could about understanding what was happening, how they could speak to their dad, how they could understand about death, how they could grieve. We all did that all together. And my S energy did that. My I energy would then come out when it got heavy. Like, come on, guys, what are we going to do? Let's go have some fun. Let's go, and be out. It wasn't easy to be my I energy at that time, because I just didn't feel, and I didn't know it then anyway, talking about it back then. But it was not always easy for me to go out of that space in the early days and pretend like nothing had happened and be like, oh yeah, everything's all okay. But I do remember really, really early on when we moved from Tamworth, and now I'm in Tasmania, when I met my new partner, someone said to me, why don't you stay? Why don't you stay where you are? And I remember, if I stay here in the country or move back to Sydney with my family, you are all going to label me a widow, the children as poor children. And at the moment, yeah, that identity's okay. But I didn't want that identity for my children. I didn't want everyone to look around and go, oh, you're the kid that the dad died, or you're, that. And they did get teased for that. I had to go to school quite a few times. The kids were being teased. And if I was up to homeschooling, I would have homeschooled them. But, it was, the I came out later. If I had to reflect on that. She was always there because I've always been bubbly, and I've always been like this little girl that just wanted to kind of run and look for fairies kind of thing, like just I could be, and I always think that my husband and my partner earth me because I could very much be in the ether and having a great old time up there. I love that. So I have people that bring me down, but in a beautiful way, ground me and say, come on, we just got to ground some of this energy, because I can really, that I energy can just be like this bubbly girl, drinking a bit of champagne and whatever.
That's so cool. That's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. I can definitely relate, Louise, on the IS too.
Yes.
Definitely relate.
Yeah. So early on, my I was really active. I was a teenager. I'd be out with my girlfriends in our late 19s or 20s, and we'd be having a fabulous time. So I think when you go through so much uncertainty, your body, if you really listen to your body, I knew I had to go to a cave, metaphorically, with my children. I knew I had to protect them. I knew I had to ground and just go in. I wasn't thinking, oh, this is my yes energy coming through or anything like that, But yeah. I just listened to my heart and I listened to my body. I took all the outside noise out, and everyone's saying, you do that. Why don't you do that? Why don't you come and live here? And you should do that. You need me to help you. And I was like, oh, let me decide what's right for me and my children. And that was my S. And thank goodness for her. She mothered us like crazy.
That's actually really beautiful. There's so much in that, right? Because it's like, can I ask, are you higher S than you are I?
Well, when I had my chart read, it was high I. Excuse me. I'll just have a glass of water. I'm high I, and then the S is not that far down underneath it. And I know when I go to my S, and I use my I, say like what we're doing now more, I can be, talking and standing up and doing my business. I won't go into too much into EDs. If I need to go to a D, I'll go to a D. When I'm writing stuff, I'll go to my C. As we all know, we can use all that spectrum. And that's been the gift. And that's what I'm, with my Inner Compass insight process, which is all around the profiling. But I've got it where it's for leadership, or it's for, women just going through the journey of life. I pull a lot of this stuff that we've just spoken about into that as well. So it's a really good awareness of how to place our energies when we need them, and where, even just to go back into our past and really excavate, like even just you asking me that question when I was going through that, what were you leaning on? I hadn't really reflected on that so much, but when I talk to you and Valerie, it's like, yeah, I was so in my S. I had to be in her. I couldn't be an I. I didn't even want to be an I.
Yeah.
I was just so in my yes energy. And that's for people that are listening to that, even though that's stability, I didn't have stability, but it was Mother Earth energy for me. It was really just coming to the cave and trusting myself, trusting my nervous system, trusting that I knew what was right for us in that moment and blocking outside noise. And that to me is created a sense of stability for my children in a world that was so unstable for them that they could rely on me to give them that. And they still, like my eldest is 38, my son, and he says, Mum, I would never be the man I am without, having you as our mum and what you took us through. And he said, I wouldn't want it any other way. And I mean, and he lost his dad and they lost their dad. But, and I don't wish that journey on them, but we did it in a way that we kept our hearts open as much as we could as we were healing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I know that pain, it's hard. And lucky kids, and you're amazing. You're amazing. And I'd like to say to any audience or any listeners going, well, I don't know EDISC, and I don't know emotional fitness, and I don't know coaching, all this sort of stuff. But you don't need to.
Yeah.
Because you actually know. Our problem is that it's not that we don't know, is that we don't want to accept what it is that we just told ourselves. There's that first second it comes in, so you've got to pause. You got to stop thinking about the past and the future and go, what's happening? What's beautiful is that your S energy became the most important thing. I was trying to work out what happened, and you just went to what was needed, and how you just explained it. So we've got to listen to ourselves and then seek someone to go, tell me what I'm not seeing.
Yes.
Really, that's the fundamental.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you so much. Now, this is a part of the section that we say, like, we can either like do a little success story, but there's so much in that I believe that you are the success story, and that's why you help people have success, right? Which is why we love you.
Thank you.
And
I love you too.
and so if you'd love to talk about, maybe without the details, or someone that we can, because we're going to go to the gym rep.
Yes. Yep.
Now, and then after that, if for anyone that's still listening, there'll be a bit of information coming along, which we'll put that into a book, and some details about how to get in touch with you. So would you like to talk about a success story or something to bring into a gym rep that people can take away, that brings all that together?
Yeah, look, just very brief. Look, I've had a few of them, and it's really quite interesting with the women that I have worked with. There is a certain flavour that does come through. It's like this. I was just going to say, I just had this funny feeling then. It's just beautiful. Valerie might know this more than Brent, so I'm not generalising that you may not know this, but I'm just thinking there's a red thread that I love, and it's I don't know if you know the Magdalene, kind of lineage. There's this red thread, and it's like weaving the most beautiful tapestry, and all these threads and all these things weave together, but there's this red thread for women, and it is really beautiful, and I feel we all pull on that thread and we're all joined. And I'd have to say, look, I could give you lots of different stories, like women that have come in, they're having trouble with their relationships, husbands are away, or women have been at home on their own, and the children have grown up and moved out of home. But there's this essence for women that that lost love, and we always put it out, it was our children, it was my husband, it was my career. But this lost love is the love that we've lost when we lost our innocence when we were young, when we forgot who we were. And I do believe I've gone off track a little bit here, but I will pull it back. I remember writing this a long, long time ago. I remember looking at my mum and looking at her in her eyes and almost begging her to tell me, who am I, Mum? But she had no clue who she was. She wouldn't have had a clue. It's this endless asking, who am I? And I think, and it's the love that we know that we are, but we feel like we've lost. There's this gap. So when the husband moves on, or the husband's away, or the children have grown up, or the career, we find that a lot of women have this gap. And this gap, as I could say, we know it's not in truth, there's no gap, but for this experience for these women. We know it's very, very true for these women. There is a gap, there's a hole, sometimes there's a gaping hole. And for men, I'm only talking about women because that's who I'm working with, but it's exactly the same for everyone, because we're all looking for that. But that gap, instead of filling it with all these other things, money, clothes, holidays, and I'm not saying no to any of those, have those as well, but to finally come home to self, to finally come home and know the love that never left you. And when you get that, when you go, oh my God, it was there the whole time. And yeah, oh my God, yes, you were there the whole time. I was never alone. I was never abandoned. You were always, I'm talking about consciousness as an energy here. So I'm not talking on a religious terminology, just to let people know, as a consciousness, that love. And that's the journey women come with me. And every single one, we've all got, if I was going to do a success story, the success is they go there. They come home. They come home to self. And then the whole world changes.
I love that, Louise, because I've just completed 4 women's journey as well.
Beautiful.
And it was exactly what you just said, reconnecting back with self and the confidence and the clarity and the insights and the wisdom these women gain.
Yes.
It's just profound. And that's why I love it. I mean, I had a client today, she's in awe of, and I'm so pleased with the journey that these women have been on, because it just lights my heart, as your clients would as well. So it is that reconnected woman with self.
And it's a gift you give to someone else, but you get the gift.
Yes.
You get that, oh, wow. And that's the miracle. When you talk about A Course in Miracles, all A Course in Miracles is when you meet in love. That is it. There's no walking on water or anything like that. We're not talking about that. The miracle is when you meet someone in truth and you have that recognition. It's like a split second. That's the miracle.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do their partners.
Yeah.
Do you know what? There's a lot of stuff going on. To be quite simple and to the point, if you just tell her the truth and say, I would love to love you more, or what is it you love about me, or what would you like to see me? Because we might not know. And what I'm trying to say is, when we know what someone wants, we can give it to them. And that leads me into, when we know what we want, we can give it to us, which leads into ask yourself
what you want.
and lead into love, right? Lead into love for yourself. So yeah, let's just move into, how can our the audience take away all this stuff and put it to a little bit of a gym rep that they can practice in their everyday to be more, what are we talking about here? It's more about more reflection of self, coming back to home of self, allowing, especially for the women, allowing their, what is it's not like masculine power. I'm such a man. It's that feminine goddess, that mother archetype, that love and care for self. What's a little gym rep that we can do?
Well, just before I go on to that point, I just want to say something that you just said about how can I love myself more so people, so I can share that love.
Please.
I would always say bring it always back to self, and don't do it for someone else. Even though I'm not saying that can be taken a little bit 2 ways, because I definitely did it for myself, for my children. I needed to. But I'm saying, and I had a client yesterday, I was speaking about it. She wanted this relationship that's very dysfunctional. And all the questioning was about how could she be better how could she improve herself so the other person would love her? I said, that's not the question you should be asking me. And she said, why not? And I said, anyway, we went on with that. But it's because it always needs to come from here first, and everything then falls into place. So if I was going to give a little gym exercise for that, we have to start with awareness. And before we become aware, we must pause. So the pause, I like, pause for peace is kind of like, I'm going to do a bloody bumper sticker on that one. Because we don't pause. We're so busy being so busy, and we're so busy trying to tick the boxes, or so busy for whatever. There's not enough stillness in our day. We do not pause for peace. And if we do pause for peace, it's like this little thing that doesn't really probably do much. You might just go, I don't know, whatever it might be. But we don't really honour it in the way that it needs to be honoured. And I would say to someone, in all the things that you do in your day, if you're going to the gym, you're going to work, you're blah, 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 all that, what part of that day can you say, I'm going to pause for peace at this? Is it going to be first thing in the morning before you go out and do your day? Is there a time in the middle of the day that you can actually stop and pause? And is there a time at night that you can stop and pause? Now, that's super, super simple. I'm not even talking about becoming aware. I'm only really keeping it so basic for someone that might not even started, because from when you pause and become still, awareness comes. But I'm not going to say go be aware, because you're going to be too busy. How can you be aware if you're too busy? You haven't even created a gap for it. You've got to create space for pausing. And to me, it's the most healthy thing that you could do for your mind, body, and spirit. It feeds your neural pathway. We change the chemistry in our body. We change our body. We change our mental capacity. And we're meeting ourselves. We have to spend time to meet ourselves. And however that looks for you, for me, it would be I pick all different times of the day. I'm up when the sun rises. I'm walking. I do spiritual writing. I do lots of things. But however you do it, pause for peace. Every day. 3 times a day. 3 times a day. At least, if you can. Pause. And it can be just for 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be, even if you have to go to the toilet, if you've got to get away from kids or whatever, go and sit in the toilet. Close the door. Say, give me a minute. And actually really close your eyes and come within and just take those deep breaths in and the breath out. If you want to use another thing as well, notice the breath coming in, notice the breath coming out. And that stops the monkey mind as well. And if you do that enough times, you actually get where you're starting to feel like you're dropping into your body. You're coming out of here and you're coming into here.
I can totally relate and agree with everything you've just said. The power in the pause is phenomenal. And I remember someone saying to me in the beginning of my journey, can you just go away for a week? Can you just go and have silence somewhere for a week on your own? And at the time I said no, because I didn't have time.
No, most people wouldn't have a week to do that.
No. But in hindsight, I did have time.
Yes.
All I had to do was ask for time off work.
Yeah. Because it's scary. It's a little bit scary. Because what's going to happen if you pause? What will happen if I pause my life fall apart? What will happen? Well, go and investigate and go find out and let me know.
It is so, so powerful. I mean, and you've talked to me about the Val, and when I've talked about my experience, I'm super high neurodivergent. So it's just like a million miles an hour when I'm sleeping and everyone can't keep up, right? Where I'm just like, I thought that was normal. And my healing journey was also stuff. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't focus. I couldn't read a lot. I couldn't do the stuff that you needed to pause and catch yourself. And I remember just before COVID, I went through this whole thing. I said, I just don't have the money to go to the Buddhist temple and sit there for 3 months. Yes. I really wanted to do that experience. So I decided to do it in my backyard, right? My kids when I was divorced, I was living on my own. My kids went to see me, and there was all this stuff going on. My world was crumbling down from me performing for so long and not taking care of self. So I sat there for 3 months. All I did was woke up, went out and sat there, and my grass went from this to you can't see. It was so long.
That's amazing.
And I just literally sat there all day because I had a business and made me enough. It was just enough money to survive, but I had no capacity. I had no capacity to do anything apart from sit. And that was hard, guys. I wouldn't eat for 2-3 days and then I'd eat. But all I could do for about 3 months is sit there and allow stuff to just go. I think I did this long pause. And the funny thing was, I was coming out of bankruptcy, right? Because I didn't do enough pausing to realize what I needed to do to not go bankrupt.
Yeah.
And then on the day that I came out of bankruptcy, because I was coming out of it, I got all this uniforms and all this stuff, and I was ready. And I was like, right, I'm out. Okay, get the marketing, get this. We're going to build business again. The next day, COVID hit. And everybody lost their marbles. I'm going to sit at home. And I'm like, another again? So I just sat there going, okay, I'll sit with some more just being nothing.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to say here is I thought I was dying and my life was collapsing, but I was actually shaking off like the gazelle after being chased, just
Yeah.
shaking it off in silence because I couldn't do anything else. And then it took a long time for me because I've come from a long place, right? We all go to different places to actually start doing things and wanting to do things. But it was really back the self to identity. So pause is the
Important.
gateway.
And you mentioned something really important, like your nervous system, because we've all been in fight and flight. We've probably been in fight and flight most of our life. So we're full of all those stress hormones. So unless we actually stop the running and stop the cortisol and the adrenaline and all that goes through our body, and your nervous system's going to go like in shock because it's actually feeding, it wants it, like I want these chemicals, I want them. It's like a drug. You're going through withdrawals. So, you've got to withdraw from the stress hormones and the nervous system being so erratic. And we're all addicted to that.
Yeah.
So that's where the pause will also, so that's what you went through. It's probably like you were probably shaking. It was like withdrawal.
I really think that looking back at it now, it's so I was doing the work, right?
You were doing the work. You were doing it.
But in the time, it was collapse. I was rock bottom. I couldn't eat. I could only sit in that chair till like 3 p.m, and I'd go for 2 hours. I literally was broken, if that makes sense. But sometimes we have to go backwards to go forwards, right? And it took so long because I was fighting it.
I don't see that as backwards. I see that as forwards because
Yeah.
that's the only direction you could have gone.
Yeah, and it was a lot to let go of. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's
but
powerful.
thank you. That is so good. I can't wait to put that into the next 3 guests and 3 reps to learn because it's like juicy already.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And sharing your amazing story.
Thank you for having me.
That's okay. I mean, before we, I guess, Valerie will go into asking you about what you'd like to share. Would you like to have some information or a way that people can contact you? Would you like to go into that, Val?
Yeah. So today we've heard so much about your journey and what you do. So where can people find you, or is there something that you're offering at the moment that you want to leave? Obviously, we'll put them at the end of this episode for you, so people can reach out to you. But is there somewhere in particular that people can find you?
So I've got my website, which is thesagebloom.com.au. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. You'll find more information on my website and probably just through my Facebook and Instagram. I kind of leave LinkedIn a little bit more for a business profile, but to get the real root of what I do and the feel of what I do, it's just truly at my website. On there, I also have some PDFs and downloads of meditation, so I can actually give those to you. So if people want to go into your resource, they can be there for you. At the moment, I'm also offering my Inner Compass Insight, and that's for anyone. But, people... but I'm actually advertising it for women in business at the moment, but it's applicable across the whole board, as we know. It's just they're there. So it's ever evolving. Obviously, my coaching, I do one-on-one coaching. I'll be going more into group coaching a little bit later. I also have 3-month workshops that are going to be released soon, which are going to be kind of based on attitudinal healing and emotional fitness. So there's so much more coming because really, even though I've been doing this for a long time, I stopped for a while. My dad passed away 3 years ago, and I had a little bit of a burnout. And I really just came back to home, back to my tools, back to all the things that I knew, back to source, and there was no business. So really, probably in the last 6 months, I've rebranded. I've got a new website, so everything's coming back out now, and really just ready to go full throttle. And I'm here. It's
That's
important.
amazing.
And also we have a sanctuary in there for women. So there's plenty of offerings in there for women, and there's a whole lot more coming, in the future as well.
I'm so glad for all the women that can go and do that. I there's so many women in the coach. I wish I wish I was a woman. I
You
think
wouldn't want to be a woman. You can come and join
just,
us though.
just for the connection. So like I'm part of a big group.
Yeah.
No, you can have the hardship. I appreciate all women.
Yes.
And we need to all work on that two ways, right? Now, thank you. There's so much there. And we do have a little group, a little Google Drive that all the informations, and when you give your information, please send us those little documents. We can put it there for everyone for future. But if you're listening to Louise and it's just like, oh my God, this is just like, I need this, reach out to her, and go there. I know that the journey starts with self. And if you're resonating and tingling and been getting goosebumps like we have, then there's definitely a message in there. And you should follow that, because why wouldn't you want more emotional fitness? So
that's it. Why would you not?
What else is there?
What else is there? This is the journey, guys. This is the journey.
Yeah. Back to self, so you can be more for everyone else. So, I mean, with that, thank you. And it's been a privilege to share this space with you, and to be giving us everything. And to everyone listening, thank you also for being here.
And also, as a quick safety note, if anything came up for you during this episode, we encourage you to reach out to a qualified practitioner or a trusted friend for support.
So thank you.
And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Brent, so much. Truly, it's been an honour.
Yeah, it's been great. You're welcome back anytime. But until next time, we'll have another sip of emotional fitness, and we'll see you in the gym.
Bye for now.
So do their